think Anna just called you out for not knowing shit about the Aurora gang buildings? Okay, well, I do routinely get called out seemingly by people who ascribe to a lot of right-wing values. No, bro, you don't get it. It's definitely happening. Like, Venezuelan gangs have been taking over. They've done it for sure. It's because I'm secretly being paid by the Venezuelan gangs. But like I said, this is a scary fucking thing that's going on. And no, I don't mean it's scary that like Venezuelan gangs have overtaken an apartment complex. I'm saying it's scary that people believe it immediately. Right? And then once, because it corresponds to like two key fears that they have, which is one, crime is completely exploded and people are hiding the truth. And two, immigrants are causing it. And there's like an unrestricted amount of immigration coming into the country. Many of them are criminals. You then end up being so fearful and you desperately seek out things that confirm your biases. Like, and the local media will lean into that fucking mass hysteria because it drives clicks, because if it bleeds, it leads. So then, because local news also fucking pushes that narrative, it makes it so much easier to fucking be victim to misinformation. If you cannot analyze the news with critical thinking, if you cannot look at this story with a critical lens, okay, then you're gonna, there's plenty of fake shit out there that will help you feel like you were right all along and everyone else was wrong all along. A Denver law firm hired to look for an alleged gang takeover in an Aurora apartment building says they found the Venezuelan Aragua gang began taking over the Whispering Pines apartments in late 2023. This also, by the way, the law firm that was hired by the property managers. That's number one. Of course, they're literally looking for any sort of extra evidence to beef up this narrative. Okay? Since then, the gang is engaged in violent assaults, threats of murder, extortion, strong-arm tactics, and child prostitution as they exerted a stranglehold on the Aurora apartment complex. That's according to a letter sent to the Aurora mayor, Mike Kaufman, Aurora city manager, Jason Batchelor, and the interim police chief that was obtained by CBS News Colorado. Each page of the 9-page report, labeled Confidential Treatment Requested, the Perkins Coie law firm shared its findings on August 9th with Aurora's top administrators. The evidence we have reviewed indicates that gang members are engaging in flagrant trespass violations, assaults and battery, human trafficking, and sexual abuse of minors. Unlawful firearms possession, extortion, and other criminal activities often targeting vulnerable Venezuelan and other immigrant populations. Funk did not respond to emails or phone calls from CBS News Colorado, and a second associate of the law firm did not respond to inquiries from CBS News Colorado. The firm says it represents the lender for Whispering Pines apartment, 1357 Helena Street, one of the several Aurora apartment buildings allegedly controlled by the Tren Aragua gang. The law firm says it interviewed witnesses and reviewed video from the Whispering Pines for its investigation. The letter marks the first time specific details and incidents have been revealed about how the gang allegedly took over the apartments and how they've been operating. Tren Aragua has threatened to kill and in certain instances apparently actively attempted to kill the members of the Whispering Pines management, according to the report. Investigators interviewed the property manager who had 15 years of experience in the industry. The property manager said he had never seen anything remotely like the Tren Aragua takeover of the Whispering Pines in his entire career. Whispering Pines consists of 54 apartments with rent ranging from $1,400 to $2,000 a month. According to the report, tenants are generally working-class Hispanic families with families and children. Property managers told the law firm he started his job in January 2024, but TDA had already been establishing a presence in the apartments before his employment. Except the complications here for this story, okay? Yeah, by the way, the numbers are crazy. $1,400 to $2,000 for a fucking slum in a state of dire disrepair. Now, one thing you need to consider. I mean, that's the real fucking gang, by the way. That's the real criminal shit. What you need to understand is that the municipalities' problems with CBZ management, which is not just this Aurora apartment, but 4 other properties in Aurora, began years prior to this gang takeover. Okay? Like, the best example of this The best example of this is if you can't just like find the actual tenants to speak to them, which many people have done. Denver PSL, one of the people, one of the groups that actually went and talked to the tenants directly. The tenants themselves also held a press conference being like, yeah, this is bullshit. We're being evicted because the conditions here are dire and the government has condemned this building. But if you don't have access to that information, you should at least, and we covered all of that for the record in my YouTube video, you can watch it. But if you don't have access to any of that information, you should at the very least understand that the actual incidents involving the municipality and this property management group and the actual complaints came far before this supposed gang takeover. So how the fuck does that work? How does that work? Did they take over before and caused the property management company to not hire a private trash company to pick up the fucking trash? Because when you even look at all of the narratives out there, they're like, oh, they were piling on trash. It's like, dog, the trash is in the trash container. It's piled up inside the trash container, which means that the developer, the property manager, did not actually hire waste management. It is up to them to hire waste management. It is not up to the tenants to get together and hire waste management. There has never been an instance where you lived in a fucking apartment complex and you literally personally went out of your way to hire waste management. In most circumstances, it's handled by the municipality. In Colorado, led by, obviously, a neoliberal Democrat for a governor, it seems like it's a libertarian paradise. Okay? So who needs to actually pick up the fucking trash in that instance is not the tenants. The tenants are throwing the trash where they're supposed to. What's frustrating about this entire story, the investigators who authored the report called this an organized crime tactic. They say gang members then said they were taking over vacant units in Whispering Pines and would start collecting rent from tenants. This is our business plan, one gang member told the housekeeper. If he, property manager, doesn't like it, we'll fill him with bullets. Following that incident, the report says video footage shows TDA gang members violently breaking into vacant apartments, kicking doors open, and moving Venezuelan immigrants into the empty apartments. This conduct's brazen and public nature exhibits the suspected gang members' sense of comfort and control, consistent with their taking over the property and not fearing the law enforcement of the property management. Investigators concluded that gang members have been extorting rents from residents they moved into the vacant units. The property manager further shared that TDA now uses the formerly vacant units to host parties where they serve drugs and child prostitution. Oh. CBS News Colorado also obtained internal Aurora police documents from June that appear to support some of the law firm's conclusions. An officer reported responding to a call from a house cleaner at Whispering Pines. He says she told police she was threatened, that she needed to give up the keys to the vacant apartments of the Whispering Pine apartment so that a group of Venezuelans could move into the Whispering Pine apartments. The officer reported suspects left, but not before warning her to comply or else they would kill her or her family. The Aurora officer wrote to fellow officers, I would highly recommend you guys take 2 to 3 friends with you when responding to any calls there. Late Wednesday afternoon, a City Aurora spokesperson confirmed they had received the letter and immediately included in its ongoing investigative work. Once again, none of this factors in to the municipality's active court case against this property developer. It is a suspiciously neat little narrative that they carved out this past month when they literally had, when the active court case was supposed to come to a close, they were able to successfully push the court date back into February when this massive media cycle started pumping this fucking Venezuelan gang narrative. We used to get letters from attorneys all the fucking time alleging all kinds of shit happening, most of it bogus, some of it threatening the city for taking action. This was likely leaked by Jurinsky, Hancock, or Sundberg to CBS, which had a few reporters friendly with the Hogs on council. Also important to note that Curtis Gardner, at-large council member, works for Waste Management. Part of the reason why we couldn't change the system. Yeah. Roaches, mice, garbage, feces plague residents at Aurora apartment building. You see, they don't have no kinds of lock-on doors, Tashara Williams said. She's a resident of the Bahamas apartment building. I feel terrible. I don't feel safe here. My kids don't even feel safe. They can't even lay down on their couch without something crawling up on them. Maintenance crews were on site picking up some garbage, but they berated Williams about an eviction notice. I'm not paying rent and no nasty thing. It's nasty. Sorry, sir. It's nasty, Williams replied. The worst part about this is an article from 2021. The worst part about this is that these are some of the poorest people. Okay? So they have no legal recourse. Not a single part of the local government gives a single shit about them. The landlords and the developers obviously have a lot more access to the council members in general. Okay? So this is precisely the reason why the tenants are literally screaming from the rooftops. They're like, no, the real criminals are the fucking landlords, right? The real criminal is the landlord. And there's so much evidence suggesting that in spite of that inherently unfair court process and criminal system, they still have found the landlord to be legally culpable for the conditions and have condemned these buildings due to the state of disrepair it's in. And the landlord is now trying to shift the responsibility of multiple problems that existed prior to 2023, prior to 2024, to a group of Venezuelan migrant gang members that came in after the original claims that happened. And not only that, but also one must ask the question, why are these Venezuelan gangs only targeting CBZ properties? Okay? Why? Like, how come it's only CBZ properties all around Aurora, Colorado? Like, there's a shit ton of other slums out there, but they just keep seemingly, because that's where all the complaints are coming from against this fucking landlord. Why is it that it's just his properties? It's sad to see people grifting to the right. For the record, APD has confirmed there's no apartment takeover in Aurora. There are gangs in the Denver metro area, and APD has long been a part of regional task force on gang activities, quit feeding hysteria, and giving slumlords cover. And it's wild because you don't have to look any further. You don't have to go to westward. You can look at the very same local news that covered this shit like weeks prior to the Venezuelan gang member story. And the very same outlets that ran with the gang members have overtaken this fucking apartment complex story were already interviewing the residents who had a litany of complaints born out of the mismanagement. We showed that as well on the fucking coverage. They literally used this story to get, to get this court proceeding pushed past February. Aurora judge rules gang-fearing slumlord can wait until February to resolve charges. Okay? Outstanding court violations. Or code violations, sorry. Dating back to 2020. Far beyond rat infestations, backed up sewage, pile-ups of trash. Hundreds of residents were evicted in the process. Dating far back to 2020. These guys' evidence that they're presenting is 2023. Think about how much work it takes to uncover the truth in a story like this versus how little it takes to lie, especially when you have a willing media apparatus to funnel all this fucking false information through. That's how you arrive at a guy like Jank, who's otherwise a very kind person, very smart person, very progressive person, who is just like, nope, I don't believe you. I 100% believe that Venezuelan gangs have overtaken CBZ management properties. Fuck me.